So he says, and you he made alive who were dead in trespasses and sins. Wow. We were dead in transgression and sin. There is a world of people that are walking around, that are breathing air and doing what they're doing, but they're dead. They're dead because they haven't been rejuvenated. They haven't met the Lord and haven't been given a new heart. The Spirit of God is not in them. And so you know, when I was saved, it was such a miraculous event to me, because the very last thing I was looking for was Jesus. I was looking for sin. I was looking for trouble. I was very angry and very disruptive kind of person. I was a handful. And I was violent, and I was aggressive. Even as I'm disabled, I'm telling you that, you know, the very fact that you get disabled doesn't mean just change your nature. And your sinful nature is your sinful nature. And what we are inherently is what we are. It's just, it's in our DNA. And life, it just messes up all the people, because the Bible tells us that the world lies in darkness and under the control of the evil one. And so everyone is in a space where they don't even know what they're doing. The world has gone absolutely cooked. I can't imagine that we're living in the same planet that I was born in the 50s. And really, it's always been crazy. But it seems to be taking on to another level of being crazy, no? But the one thing that has not changed and will never change is the gospel. And that is to me the greatest miracle of everything. That we were dead. I was dead in transgression and sin, doing whatever I was doing, yet I was dead. And I knew I was dead, because nothing was fulfilling me. Nothing could fulfill me. I was so empty, or so, even at school then, you know, I was a jovial kind of guy, but I wasn't really happy ever. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. And you know, you can smile with your face, but when your heart smiles, it's another thing. And the moment the Lord walked into my life, and I'm telling you, He invaded my life, it was an absolute miracle. Because I wasn't looking for Jesus. I was looking for everything else except Jesus. I mean, I didn't even know about Jesus. Honestly. My mother is a Jewish woman. And my father's Catholic, so we never went to church as young. Never. I've got two memories of ever going to church. The one was a Palm Sunday. I remember, I know it because I came back with a palm cross, you know, whatever that meant. And the other time, I think, was Christmas Day or something like that. And Christmas was just like a jewel, eh? Big party, lots of pleasures, lots of food, great time. The fact that Jesus was born is supposedly, but so I never heard about Jesus until I went to school, and I went to a boarding school that I was forced to go to school to church every single day, every day, Monday to Friday. and we would sing, you know, and somebody would share. I don't know what they would share. It was the padre and the priest. And then on Wednesday we'd do choir practice, and we'd be fired up to sing and try and out-sing the other houses, you know, in the chapel that we're in. And then we had twice a week confirmation classes, which I'm not too sure to this day what those were. But I do know is that that if you got confirmed, you could take communion. And at the school where I was, it wasn't just grape juice. It was sherry, and so a lot of the guys got fired up to get confirmed, and you know the priest would come with a tumbler, like a silver tumbler, and he'd be very somber and blah blah blah, going, and then the guys would just come, and he'd come, and they'd try and grab as much as they could, you know. So that was my motivation for doing confirmation classes, and to the priest's, I guess his discernment. He pulled me aside one day and he said, just before I was getting confirmed, he said, Basil, I don't think that you're ready for being confirmed. I said, He said, no, you're just not ready. I didn't even ask any questions. You know, I didn't know what I was being confirmed into or out of, or how it would change my life, if ever. So when I left school, the one thing I understood, I would not want to be a Christian or be in a church. I really knew that religious kind of setup had nothing to offer me. And still, to this day, it is the case. But Jesus, you know, when I met the Lord, and I honestly, that is something that I'll have to tell you a little bit about. Are you okay with that? Because it was I'd been shot and I was being rehabilitated, and I was 1 year in that, and my parents had a motel kind of pub, and wonderful place, 16 rooms, and it was pumping, wonderful bar. Really, it was an incredible place. The whole town it was the talk of the town. And so when I left, when I had been, I started to walk, and I was just starting to talk a little bit. And I was just starting to read a little bit. And I just think how the Lord, even at that time, had me in the right place. That because if I had gone from home and into some little house somewhere, I would just gone down. And had never had the chance to, I would just be smoking weed all day and stuff like that. I don't know. But being at this pub, you know, I would just go into the, are you understanding with me? Yeah. Okay. I'm not in the pub now. I know that. But my dad was outside of the bar. I was here, and we would just have time together talking, and people would come into the pub, and would just engage me, and just get talking to me, and I was not so talking with good words anymore. I mean, I was very, and people, no, don't worry, Baz, no. They were laughing, joking. And that really was something of rehabilitation that, and I'm serious, that it was something supernatural because I had to engage. And then also a lot of teachers were there and they got me reading and writing and took time to say, you know, Basil, do this, do this, do that. And they made me rewrite a couple of exam papers that I would have done many years ago. And I just, my brain started to just kick in, you know. And I just thought, you know, I'll tell you what happened is when the first time I came out of hospital, and I was just so weird because I was in for months now. And people was just, and suddenly I just thought, where are we going? Okay. I'd see a traffic light, and I'd say, okay, people are stopping. Why are they stopping? Okay, they're stopping because the traffic light's red. Okay, that's right. Because red traffic lights, you stop. And when they go green, you go, okay. I'm telling you, complete rehabilitation from zero. You know, just absolute nothing. So anyway, I'm in this place, and I'm just enjoying myself with all everybody is just. It was just such a joy. And so now here comes a guy, an army guy. He says, Basil, come, I want to take you to the mountains in Eastern Highlands. And it was a rehabilitation center for army guys that had been shot and wounded and affected during the war. And I was sitting in the pub there, and his name was Dick Paget. And he said, "Hi Basil, I'm Dick." He said, "I've come to pick you up." I said, "Okay, where are we going, Dick?" He said, "No, we're going to Sangalunge." And I said, "Oh, Dick, you know," and I had plans, you know, and then I thought, oh, and then he talked about it. He just engaged me and just talked nicely, and next thing, you know, he's such a wonderful guy. I just thought, no, cool. Dick, I'll come. And I just packed a little suitcase, and I jumped in the front of the Land Rover, and we're off to Sangalunge, you know. Now you think about that. I wasn't wanting to go there. I was quite happy where I was. And when I got there, it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and everybody was in there just talking and fellowshipping, and it was like fellowshipping, and we call it fellowship here in church, but I don't know what they're doing, hanging out. But as I walked into this room with all these guys, all shot up in different degrees of. A couple of guys had lost a leg from standing on an AP mine. A couple of guys were paralyzed. A great friend of mine had been shot about 4 or 5 times in the stomach, you know, with an AK-47 rifle, so he was really messed up. And he was whinging and whining a lot. So. But we just told him to shut up, man. He actually called me the other day. Completely out of the blue, he saw something. He said, "Hey Basil, this is." So I said, "Hey man, good to hear from you. Where are you?" So Australia. He said, "Let me tell you, Basil. Those were the days." He said, "Those days marked my life, and I will never ever forget them." So you know, I would. But they all know that I am who I am now as a born again believer, and so that's what I'm saying is against my will. I went to this place, and suddenly there's this great bunch of guys, all shut up and messed up. a couple of them weren't shot up and messed up, but they were just having a break, pretending to have problems, but I don't know. So I didn't get on so well with those guys then. So yeah, so that's how it was. That afternoon we're talking. Everybody's talking, and everybody's talking about what happened to them and where they were and why they lost their leg and this and that. And I'm just listening. And the one guy just says to me, "But Basil, what happened to you?" He said, "I said, well, I was shot in the head, you know, and a bullet went through both hemispheres of my brain, and I died. And I always told people I died, you know, because I mean, our doctors, when I first started to talk, I told the doctors and nurses, my mom, my dad, my sister, I mean, and they were just kind of like taken back by, wow. The one time I was in, one of the guys that kidnapped me from hospital. Idiots, man. They honestly, they just said, "Baz, come, we're going." I said, "Where are we going?" It's 9 o'clock at night. I said, no, we're just going to we're going to a club here, and then we're going here. 3 o'clock in the morning, no, I mean, then we went to a nightclub, and there was, I mean, you know, those guys were crazy. Army guys are crazy. And 3 o'clock at night, the guys are sitting in beanbags and listening to music and smoking dope, of course. And then one of the guys says, "Baz, tell me, what do you remember about the contact?" And I told him. And he said, "Hey, Baz, that's amazing. I didn't know you remembered so much." I said, "You know, I knew, I was closer to it than you. You'll know that." And then I said, "But you know, the most amazing thing is that when I was shot, it was such a painful experience. And I knew I'd been shot, and I knew I was dying. I couldn't breathe. I wasn't breathing anymore. And the contact was just on fire. Everybody's running around screaming, bullets flying everywhere, grenades. An airstrike was happening, and I'm just lying there in the ground, quietly dying, and in a lot of pain. And I'm just thinking, if I let my head fall into my arm, I'm gone. I could see my rifle lying from me like that, and blood and sand in my mouth, and I'm just thinking, oh, this is terrible. This is war. This is war, and I don't want to be in the war anymore. I don't want anything to do with this war. Just get me out. And then I let my head fall into my arm. And then the most amazing thing is my spirit came out of my body. I mean, my arms came out of my arms, my head. And at that moment, as soon as it happened, I was free from pain. Wonderful. And I found myself going through a tunnel. And as I went through this tunnel, my whole life, from when I was a small child, as far as I could remember, up until this moment, I saw it all. And now I came out of the tunnel, and I'm walking, and I had legs and arms, and it was me, for sure. And I was thinking, wow, this is wonderful. This is kind of wonderful. Because there's no drama here, and there's no stress, and there's no anxiety, and there's no this, there's no nothing, no pain. And And I'm told that this concert went on for 28 minutes. My friend was shot and killed just before me. I witnessed that, and then I was shot. So the first communicator went back to the base, our army base, was that Basil O'Connor Jones is dead, and Guy Mackenzie is dead. So when the contact was over, they came to our bodies, and I don't know whether I was on my face. I think on my face. I have to remember. And then they realized that I was alive, but only just. And the rest is a long drama, and I'm not going to bore you with that. I woke up in intensive care units about 3 days later, and my father was just over my bed. And I opened my eyes and I saw him, and I said, he said, "How are you, my boy?" And I said, "Dad, where is Guy?" And he said, "He's dead, my boy." And I knew that. And that was the last word I spoke. I never spoke again for 6-7 months. Everything, my whole brain swelled, and my whole neurologically, all that stuff, I don't know. My speech therapist was a darling. And how she put up with me, I don't know. But anyway, coming back to now being in the army guys, we're sitting in this room, so I would tell people everywhere. And now this day, there was a medic, born again medic, tongue talking. He's just on fire for Jesus. And so he's listening to the story. And that night he makes a beeline for my table and comes and sits directly opposite me and says, Can I sit here? I said, "Yeah, well, there's nobody there." And he leaned over his food like that. And it was a rabbit stew or something, and there's steam coming into his face. And I said, "Does it smell good?" And he said, "No, I'm praying." Oh, that's strange. Well, who prays for their food? Yeah? You know, at boarding school, you know, we could march in like that, and then for what we're about to receive, and just drama. And just grabbing branches, grabbing food, animals. So, and afterwards, they would say, we'd say after having a meal, they'd say, "Okay, stand up." Everybody stands up. "For what we have received, we are truly grateful." The one master, he spoke in Latin and said, "For what we should have received, we are grateful, Lord." So, this man is praying over his food. And I just said, he said, I'm praying. I said, "Wow, what on earth are you praying for?" And that's all he needed. Because from there, for the next 3 hours, he spoke to me. What he spoke to me about, I cannot remember. But I do know that I was convicted. And I do know that the Lord reached out to me at that time. And I just thought, Dick Paget, this army guy, he's just there for 2 weeks. And then from nowhere he's gone. But the Lord has just a plan to put people in the right place, to be with the right person, because not everybody can speak to somebody about Jesus. Because some people need different people. And for me, I needed somebody that wouldn't tolerate my nonsense, because I would obviously be arguing with him and asking him some stupid questions. And he was just strong. He just said, no, Baz, this and this and that. And then eventually he just said, well, anyway, Baz, I'm going to bed. And I said, yeah, just give me a hand to the bedroom. And I was in a wheelchair then, and he pushed me. And I'm just thinking this whole time, what is happening to me? There's something happening to me. I got no idea what it is. And I got into my bed, and he said, bye, Baz. I said, bye. And I got into my bed, and I took off, obviously, my clothes, and I used to carry a revolver, 38 Special, wherever I went, because I was disabled, and there was a war going on. And if somebody wanted to take me on, well, I couldn't defend myself. But I had a gun, and I would use that. That is for sure. So I slept with that under my pillow. And then I lying on my back, and I started to think about what this man was saying. And suddenly I just started to cry. And I wept, and I wept, and I wept. You know, and I said, Jesus, if you are real, if this man says, if this man says what he's saying is real, and you can save me, Lord, I need you. And I don't know what I prayed, really. No words. But the next morning when I woke up, I knew something miraculous had taken place. Absolutely supernatural. That guy that went to bed that night did not wake up the next morning. The guy that went to bed that night was dead in sin. Lost. The guy that woke up in the morning was alive unto Jesus. And you know, that you see, I said to the guy, I tried after breakfast, I had a bag of dope, you know, because I used to smoke every day. And I took this dope and I threw it down the toilet and flushed the chain. Why would you do that? I mean, if you're addicted to dope, you know. It's crazy. It's crazy. But it's Jesus, you see. And when the Lord takes a hold of somebody's life, you know, it's like saying, for me, I say, if for somebody to confess to be a Christian, to be saved, to be born again, and not to experience change, it's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. I'm sorry, there's no ways. Paul, Saul of Tarsus, was on the road, and the Lord met him supernaturally. That's for sure. And he was blinded, and he became the greatest apostle probably that ever lived. But he was not looking for Jesus. He was looking to destroy the church. He had letters in his hand to go and bind and put in prison all those people who called upon Jesus. He was determined to destroy the sect of Christians. And the Lord says to Ananias, he is my chosen instrument. And so I want to say to you this morning, at the get-go, that we are chosen instruments. That salvation is a miracle. It is not a decision we make flippantly. It is an intervention and interaction with God, with Jesus, where you meet him, and then you are a new creation in Christ that never existed before. A new creation. And that to me, I will die speaking about the miracle working power of God. Now I know that many kids are in churches and they grow up in churches and they have different experiences, I guess. I never doubted for 1 second that my children would not serve the Lord. And when my son was really wild and in the world and properly, I had a faith in my heart that he's coming back. He's, and we got some real weird calls. I mean, no, he was in trouble, and we were in trouble. He wrote off 3 cars that we owned. Bless him. Yeah. I remember the one morning it came 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and he said, "Wake up, Dad. Keeks, Dad, I don't wake up, Mom. We had a prank. Are you okay? Yes. See you tomorrow." Okay. Well, that's how it was, and even what he was doing and what he got involved with, and I'll never tell you of all that stuff. I'm not sure, but I did know that Jesus was going to touch him, and he had a girlfriend. Now, I'm closing now. He had a girlfriend at that time, beautiful girl. And she was going to dancing school in Australia, and I really wanted to meet her and to speak to Keegan, but I said to Drew, I said, "Come for lunch with me." So she said, "No problem." So that'd be great. So I went I said, I'll meet you at this restaurant. And here comes Keegan with Drew. I said, the last thing I wanted was Keegan to be there. Because Keegan, he, at that time, he was running from the Lord, you see. So he was, they were just giggling and giggling, and I paid the bill and then giggling. And, but at that but then she said to me, "I'm going to dancing school." I asked her, I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "For 1 year, I'm going to Australia to dancing school." I said, "When is that?" She said, "That'll be in April." I said, when you fly from Durban to Australia, you can go through Mauritius. And I can plan for you to stay in an incredible place. Beautiful beaches, and then go on to Australia." And she said, "Wow, that's wonderful. That sounds great. Thank you." I said, I'll organize it for you. I'll set up all that." So now Keegan is hearing this, and he's thinking, "Nah, it's impossible that Drew's there and I'm not there." So next thing, every plan he made in a book, he planned and schemed his way to Mauritius. And then I arrived at Mauritius. You remember, Lynn? 22 wild young guys, completely crazy. that they would, anyway, how they got through customs, I mean, that Clint's one of them. Oh, oh no, yes, that's another story completely. So, yeah, I won't. No, one day I will. Oh, for sure. It's a given. You can mark that down. But these guys, they're drinking on the plane, they're smoking, they go to a duty-free shop, get bottles of whiskey. They're coming to a church conference. Now, can you believe? Then, but I knew that the Lord was drawing these kids. And half of them had been properly born again, and half of them had not. And it was there was about maybe a weekend, and on Tuesday night, and Keegan's got this long hair, and he's 22 years old or 21 years old, I don't know what. And he hasn't seen everybody for a long time, and people are just all over him, just saying, "Oh, it's so good to see you, Keegan." And you see, what he used to do is, he used to come to church. He would have a Game Boy and just distract himself, or he just to close his heart. You see, because he knew if he opened his heart, cooked. And so everybody's laughing, just loving him, talking to him, engaging him. And he walks into the church, having forgotten to close his heart, and suddenly the music starts, and he starts to cry, and he runs out the church, and he's sitting in the back, and he has a smoke, and he tries to get his act together, and he says, "No, I've got this one. I'm all right. I'm coming back into the church." He went back into the church a couple of songs later, and then Neil Martin jumped up and shared that night. And then Keegan and a whole bunch of young people. You remember them? And you know, it was the beginning of a wonderful move of the Lord. And you know, we're here for 6-7 weeks, I don't know. Maybe less, I don't know. Who knows? But I believe, and Brother Mickey said to me, "Basil, go to church and tell them about Jesus in evangelical way." Elderby, it's so good to see you. My sweetheart, I've just seen you now. This girl, she walked into the church just completely. You know, we were having a meeting just down the road from her house. And she walked in. I don't know if she was even invited by anybody. Hey, she walked in, sat down. I can't remember what happened. Apparently, I said something to her. I'm not too sure. But she got born again, and she's still there. Yeah? These are miracles. This is supernatural, and let's just stay in that space and we believe God. And on Friday we're doing a meeting. Rod speaking to me and Lynn for young adults. I really am going to ask you to invite all your cronies. Invite the wildest guys. It doesn't matter. Because Jesus can do miracles. And he does miracles, and it's supernatural. And one thing for sure, you know, I've had some difficulties in my life, but since I met the Lord, there is just a faith, inherent faith, that it's in my DNA, and it should be in all your DNAs, that, you know what, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Let's stand.